Good morning and welcome to Morning Coffee with Brigid. I'm Brigid Burke, and yeah, looks a bit more like night right now, doesn't it? But it is 7 o'clock in the morning, Eastern time. It is a kind of foggy, gloomy kind of day. And hello, Sam. Good just into afternoon for you. And hello, Joanne. And morning. Yeah, it's as you can see, it's quite dark here. But it is foggy outside. I had to drop my car off. I have low tire light, like the tire pressure light came on, of course. I hardly drive anywhere, but it was literally when I was getting ready to go drop the hazardous materials off. It was very, that's when the light came on, and I was kind of like, really? But, it was cold, so I thought, well, sometimes when it's cold, the tire light will go on. I had checked the pressure. It was like some of them were 29 and one of them was 28. And good morning, Alex. So I just kind of felt like, right, because of the cold. But I'm not, but in the past I've had that where it's gotten really cold and I thought, oh yeah, that's why the tire light's on. But then when I actually take it in, it turns out like there's like something that got stuck in the tread or something, or there's a hole. So right now the car is, it needs its oil change anyway. And good morning, Suda. The car is now over in, and hello, Melissa. The car is at the shop, and the thing is, the reason I go to this shop is because they do good work, but I have to walk there. I can walk there. I drop my car off and I come back in the dark, foggy cemetery just to get back to my house, which fortunately is actually a cool thing for me. So yeah, I dropped the car off this morning early, and I am, if I sound like I'm a little like wobbly, it's because I feel like a headache could be starting, and I'm hoping I can head it off a little bit. But it does tend to affect sinuses and everything else, and I just feel kind of like, you ever have that feeling like you get up and your head is like made out of lead? And my hips were killing me this morning, so I had to do some hip flexor exercises this morning just to sit comfortably in a chair, because I'm just sitting here and I just feel like I almost feel like I don't know, had one since yesterday. Yeah, there's something going on. Alex says she feels like she's in a fishbowl. Yeah, it's just, that's kind of how it is. And I know I talked to Jenny last night, and she was just like, she says, oh my God, sorry, probably the rain. Well, yeah, I'm sure that's definitely, these weird weather changes are probably part of it. But Jenny was saying to me last night, she said that, she says, oh my God, because I sleep for 8-9 hours and I feel like it's not enough. So yeah, there's definitely a slowdown in the energy too. We're definitely feeling that. And, so today I might do a little bit more of a wild card thing. I did have some thoughts, just speaking of classes and things. I know people have been asking me for a tarot class, so I am going to try to organize that this week. I'm not going to say today because with the way I'm feeling, it could be, I still have to finish grading. This is end of semester. I have a ton of grading to do, and it's not just the things that I can go through quickly. They're the things where I have to read and give comments and feedback and evaluate and blah, blah, of course. But, it is what it is. It happens at the end of every term, so it's not something unusual, but just kind of like, I still have to do the things I need to do for the winter holidays, whatever cards I'm going to send to people, which I send very few now because I remember walking into a Walgreens last year looking to see if they just had boxes of cards. I was not looking for anything big, expensive. I know people get, I ordered cards this year because I was just like, I don't like half of what I see in the store. But I just wanted to see if they had them. And I remember the girl who was like 20, who was behind the counter. She was like, oh, well, we have individual cards. I'm like, no, Christmas cards, like boxes, not like individual one. I'm not paying $7 for a single card to send to somebody, right? And she just had no clue what a box of Christmas cards would possibly be. And I was like, wow, well, that's a shift. So I don't know. It's it's kind of a different world, I guess. But in any case, yeah, all that kind of stuff that I need to do to finish up for the holidays, family, friends, people who are local, who there's certain neighbors who I will go to visit, and, usually I bake for them and I'll bring something, and that's our excuse to get together, have coffee, look at their vacation pictures for the year, the neighbors that I like, which, there's also neighbors that I'm not that fond of, but there's neighbors that, those are the ones I usually talk to. So anyway, it's the time of year for all that stuff. And then for me to now the car is in, so, I'm not, like I said, it's foggy out today. It's kind of wet. It is warmer, but it's not a day where I really want to be driving around. So in a way, it's just as well that I don't have the car today. So yeah, so we'll see where today ends up going. But people were asking for a tarot class. This is where I was starting. And I was also thinking I might do 2 other mini classes. We do those little 2-hour classes. And I don't know, we can kind of poll everybody and see whether an evening would work better or whether or not a weekend day would work better. Obviously, I think for people in the UK, if they want to participate, a day would work better because of the time difference. And another dream workshop, I think with all the dreams everyone's having since Neptune's gone direct, that another dream workshop would be good. But I thought it might be good to have an astrology class like we had on Chiron, to have look at people's charts and talk about the meaning of Pluto in your chart, like where Pluto in Aquarius, where Aquarius is in your chart, what house it's in, and what that shift is going to mean for people individually, like talking about what the shift means overall, what it generally means in the houses, and then kind of trying to look at it. I'm also thinking, because I'm seeing a lot of energy around people's nodes right now, the North and South node, where your nodal axis is and how that interacts. And Sam says, yes to astrology class in all caps. Great. Okay. Yeah. So that is something I definitely want to do. And I'm thinking about the nodes too, because some people, I don't know, maybe I'm thinking about the nodes because my North and South node are in 0 degrees of Aquarius, 0 degrees something of Aquarius. And right now, Pluto is exactly conjunct my North node. So maybe that's why I'm thinking about both. But I have found that in even doing readings for people or dealing with their charts and stuff, that their nodal position, especially with respect to Pluto, seems to be really important right now in terms of, because a lot of us have this feeling okay, something's changing. I got to do something different. I gotta do something. And it's well, what is it that I have to do? And I think that this is trying to tell us that's where we can get that kind of information. Yes, even though chart stuff won't help, is what she's saying. Well, you know what, Joanne? Like I said, certain things, I have to look at your chart because you did send it to me. And it probably helps more than you think it does. And yeah, I apologize for not having gotten to it actually, because you did send it to me a while ago. But I just and I've been noticing too, Kate Kinsbury sent me a message a week ago, and I'm crap, I haven't even listened to her message yet. And I'm just getting back to people. I was getting back to some people this morning before we even did the live stream. So yeah, so I'm a little behind on stuff, which retrograde, pretty typical. And Joanne says, "Oh, I'm not worried." Oh yeah, no, I know. We'll discuss it, but that might actually help you frame what you would get out of a class like that. And so yeah, so I'm thinking about offering a couple more workshops, probably between December, January. Weekends might actually be good for that. I'm grateful. Oh, yeah, well, I'll be interested to see it. I'm interested to look at the kite formation that you have in your chart too, because that's you don't see those too often. So I'm definitely want to do something like that, and I want to try to plan that. I do need to get my grading out of the way, but I've made notes for myself. So I'm going to start looking at the calendar and floating some dates, and I'm going to try to get dates that can include everybody. So that's why I'm thinking it might end up having to be a weekend thing, but maybe what I'll do is I will come up with some dates and times and email everybody who I know is usually part of the group and interested. Maybe it's even something we can discuss at the party on next Sunday. Just kind of get a rough feel for what, who wants to participate, what days and times work, so that I can schedule something, and then, the maximum number of people can participate who want to. So, yeah. So, have you heard from I'm not sure. Pat. No, I have not. And actually, yeah, she's somebody else I want to reach out to because I haven't heard from her in a while. Maybe she watches these. I think I saw that she kind of liked one of them, but yeah, I'm not sure right now. But I can help create a Google Form survey if you would like. Oh, I appreciate that. Yes, I do. I mean, I have made them before, and I've done them for like Rouhani and stuff. So I do have a Google Form account. And Joanne says she texted her, no answer yet. Okay, yeah, I don't know. Maybe she might be just taking a time out. I feel like she has kind of because Wix always tells me like where visitors are coming from to my website, and it looks like she might have been checking things out. I'm also wondering if she's I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So I just I do hope she's okay. I just haven't and I would like to, but I'm also kind of feeling like I'm kind of between do I need to reach out, or does she just want to think some things through before she reaches out. So because we have the project due too, because on the 20th, and I don't know whether that's going to happen with her or not, or if she's gonna, if that's something that she's actually working on, or if she's taking a break from that too. So, I need to reach out to her one way or the other. So yeah, she's definitely on my list of people that I want to catch up with. So, and if she watches this, yes, obviously we're all thinking about you, and we hope everything's okay. But it's so we need to see what goes on with that. But that's what I'm going to be looking into this month, and I will send it out to everybody. So we'll either discuss it informally at the party, or maybe we'll make a form and we'll do something to see what works for people. But we will, but anyway, we'll figure that out. So that's going to be upcoming, I would say December into January. I don't want to overload people with classes either, because I know it's like after the holidays, people don't always have, even though we don't charge a lot for the classes, it's like, I know people, it's kind of like, money is still tight around this time of year. So I want to make sure that it's something everybody feels they can participate in, not only in terms of chronologically, in terms of time, but also financially. So, and I have to start getting, some things together, on the other channel and everything as well. So yeah, there's just a lot to go on, and I'm still in the process of cleaning things out here. So, now I'm gonna do some readings for today, but one of the reasons I was really thinking about the Pluto and Aquarius today, because I find myself looking at, one of the things I look at, like when I do a life path especially, is where people's Pluto is located in their chart. Because there's a wonderful book called Pluto, The Evolutionary Journey of the Soul. And I'm trying to remember the author's name. I have it back here. This was a book recommended to me about 25 years ago by the astrologer I worked with at the time, who was also a clinical psychologist, Estelle. And Estelle had told me that this was a really good book. Now, it's a very dense read. When I've tried to use this book as part of the life paths, people are kind of like, okay, like it's kind of, it's like he's trying to get into it, talk about the positioning of Pluto, and he tries to get different scenarios, but he's not the most concise writer. Let's put it that way. I mean, the material is good, but he's not the most concise writer. But I'm finding that a lot of people's Pluto centers around one of two things. It tends to center around relationship of some type. So either it has to do with family, or it has to do with the way in which we, it might be an 11th house Pluto, which can also have to do with family, but also the way that we interact with groups. A lot of the Pluto positionings have to do with how independent we are or are not. Like I'm a very independent person. I always have been, but Pluto's in my 4th house, but Pluto right now in Aquarius with my node, the North node says to me, and this is why I think that's important too. It says, no, your second half of life is about how you work with others, not how you do things on your own. And I'm seeing that kind of thing for a lot of people. A lot of people are being pushed to redefine relationship, how they come into relationship, what it really means to be independent. Mine is in Scorpio 7th house. This is Sam, conjunct the Descendant and freaking Black Moon Lilith. Black Moon Lilith's pretty close to my Pluto too. So I'd love to take this class. Yeah. Wow. Right. So speaking of Pluto having to be connected to relationship, right? And in Scorpio, my Lilith is in Scorpio too, actually. Interesting. Pluto is now in my 4th, but natally in the 1st. Right. So, so Pluto in your case is dealing a lot more with with what you present to people, with your personality, with your identity in the world, who you are. So that's where your Pluto is affecting things. So this book is really interesting, and I want to put something together on it. But it talks a lot about it. So it's interesting. You have a first house Pluto. Sam has a seventh house Pluto. So you're literally opposite in terms of what your Pluto is doing. You know, one is more about you as an individual. Sam's is more about relationship, like quite literally. Fourth house, mine is natal fourth house. So mine is about relationship to family. Okay. Yeah. And I know someone who has an 11th house Pluto. And sometimes people who have that, it's like about how do I fit in with certain groups, you know? And then she's saying, Alex, yes, which is interesting because we seem to mirror opposite one another. Yeah. And your Pluto is like, yeah. So that's one of the really key components. Chiron is a key. Pluto is a key. I think Saturn's a key to where that is. And then also, and the nodes, I think, are very important. I mean, there are other important things in the chart and other important groupings and things like certain formations, like trines and yod aspects and like kite formations, things like that. Those are all important too. But those, I think, planetary-wise, like if I'm going to sit down and look at somebody's chart, that's going to be the first things that I look at. Where are all those things? And if you're going through something, where are they now, right? And good morning, Leela. We're just talking about Pluto and the positioning of Pluto in your chart. So, so there's a lot that's going on here, and especially with Pluto moving into Aquarius, because Aquarius is 11th house, okay? And Aquarius is, okay, so an 11th house Aquarius is like, that has to do with friendship, has to do with our social networks. But again, that is one of the houses that deals a lot with how we, good morning, awesome, yes. How we interact, you know, how we kind of maintain, okay, part of it's like how we maintain our independence in the group, but all, you know, like be the individual that we are, but also how we're being that individual in kind of a community setting. Like how are we using our gifts for others? And that may be part of the reason that this is at least one aspect of Pluto and Aquarius. Obviously, there's all the technological factors that go along with it, and we can see how that is all coming up. And honestly, I think some of these drone things too that I was talking about yesterday, I said that also feels very Pluto and Aquarius, whatever that turns out to be. There's just something about Pluto, this Pluto energy, this wherever Pluto goes, I mean, it dives deep and it shakes things up. So, yeah, and of course, really think the 11th house has to do with social media. Oh my God, yes, it totally does, is what Alex said. Yeah, exactly, yeah, just thinking about it. And I think that might have been a conversation I was having last night, but we've got a lot of these like Mars-Pluto oppositions, like, and next year's going to be tumultuous astrologically as well, with Uranus moving into Gemini for the first time, and then, what else? Saturn and Neptune conjuncting Aries, which, by the way, they say can precipitate things like UFO activity and stuff like that. Or sometimes new religious movements, sometimes things. It's like that. That's the Neptune and Saturn and Aries. You have to kind of watch out for, I mean, there can be, I feel like there's going to be this big opening up in terms of knowledge, but you also have to be careful of people who use that as a tool of deception. Because this is also the time when you can get false messiah complexes and things like that can also come out of Neptune and Saturn and Aries. So, you know, there's both sides, and you just have to be very cautious and very aware of what's coming through. But there's definitely a new space. There's definitely something about our way, when this happens, there's definitely a shift and a broadening in our thinking. And but again, when Neptune and Saturn kind of come together, you have Neptune, which is like, yes, we're going to look at all the dimensions of the universe, and Saturn's like, yeah, okay, well, let's talk about what's really here. Let's talk about what's manifest. Or, you know, there's a two. They're not necessarily compatible energies, but when they work together, it's like at their best, one is there to manifest, to have a quality manifestation of the other, shall we say, rather than just kind of going off in a million directions. It's like, how do we ground that? How do we make it into something? Great being in that cusp, that's going to be interesting. Yeah, Joanne, you're Uranus and Taurus even. I feel like this is a year where your Uranus and Taurus is really going to hit, unfortunately, because mine hit in 2019 because I'm at the beginning of Taurus. You're at the end of Taurus, and you're on that Taurus-Gemini cusp. So yeah, and basically Uranus is moving back and forth between Taurus and Gemini next year. So yeah, you're going to be on. So yeah, I don't know, we might be having a lot of conversations, right? But yeah, it's definitely it's revolutionary. I mean, it makes big changes. And so what that's ultimately going to mean, I'm going to pull some cards on this. I don't, I mean, it all remains to be seen. All the astrologers are out there now making their predictions about, oh, it's going to be this and it's going to be that. And, and I'm not saying that those people are wrong. But Steve Judd pointed out, Joanne's saying, oh, joy. Steve Judd pointed out that he said, he went back through several Pluto shifts historically. And he went through like what the astrologers said at each shift. And he said, yeah, and the things that they thought were going to happen, it's like, they're not the things that happened, like other things happened. So, yeah, so I don't know. I don't know that I would want to predict what this is going to do because honestly, we also have to remember that Pluto in Aquarius is just one factor among many that we're dealing with. I mean, mind you, it's a significant one, but it's not the only one. Okay. So we have an interesting reading here. We won't know until we're there, right? And even then, sometimes we can't see it directly. Well, you know the expression "hindsight is 20/20," right? I mean, we'll be able to look back and go, "Oh yeah, those are all the things that happened." I mean, yeah, we'll be in the middle of it, and the question is, are we going to be conscious of being in the middle of it, or are we going to be in a space where we're in the middle of it, but kind of retrospectively going, oh, maybe I should have done this instead. But when you're in the new space, though, sometimes it's like a test. This is when we talk about initiations, tests, and ordeals, right? It's like you're in a space where it's like, okay, this thing's different now. What are you gonna do? And your knee-jerk reaction, is it going to be based on a past pattern, or are you going to be open to stopping and doing something differently? It's that kind of energy. So I just did some astrology cards on this, and our first card is the lunar eclipse card, okay? And so the lunar eclipse is a card of change, and this is a card of sudden change, saying change that we are not, that just kind of comes out of nowhere, and then, yeah, just kind of like what I just said, that we just have to kind of deal with. And what's interesting, it's in the environment of the North Node. Now, we were just talking about the nodes, right? So, North Node energy. Yeah. And so this is why, another reason why I want to do a class on the nodes, because it just seems like, and people are being pushed towards whatever it is that, like, it's all like, okay, now it's the time for you. I'm seeing a lot of sun energy too, and Leo energy. It's time for you to shine. It's time for you to show the world who you are. It's time to take your talents and strengths and put it out there and let people see who you are, right? See the best of you. Rather than just, whatever, rather than just being focused on, I don't know, accumulation of wealth or things like that, like redefining all these things. One of the things they do talk about is the redefining of economic systems. And whether that's going to happen or not, I don't know. But they're saying kind of the way we've been doing it is not going to be the way it's done in the future. Like there's going to be a new way to negotiate money and things like that. Now, that's a prediction. Now, who knows what's going to happen with it, but there's apparently a lot in the astrology, and including the Uranus astrology, that may change the way we do things. And that doesn't have to be a negative change. It can be, there's a lot of things that could upset money values and can change things. If the standard is no longer the dollar, for example, like a lot of times things or the dollar becomes the global standard. If it becomes like the yen or something else, that could definitely change a lot of things for us. There's talk, and I don't know whether I don't think this kind of thing would happen under any of the existing administrations, but there definitely seems to be a sense of, are people going to move at some point to universal basic income, for example, so that people can go back to being creative, doing the things that they want to do, and or letting the machines do the work while everybody has a basic income and can focus. That would in some ways that may or may not be ideal, but there's people who talk about that as a possibility. Now I'm not predicting that's going to happen, but just different ways in which we might be rethinking our economic systems, rethinking the way governments work, rethinking like a lot of things. It seems like there's a potential for that. Where it's actually going to go is anybody's guess. But North Node is shifting us towards our life purpose. Now, what we're not seeing is air. Okay. Now, air element is interesting because air has to do with communication. Okay. And now I'm thinking, and it's really funny because it's next to the Uranus card here. Because Uranus is what it's telling us. Uranus is saying, be prepared for a shakeup. But it's next to the air jet. It's not next to the Gemini card, but it is next to the air card. So I feel like this is like not only new ways of thinking about things, but really changing the way that we communicate. Or I feel like it also could mean we're going to be receiving, if we're trying to open up our perception, that we may be receiving more communication from different places. And again, I mean, some people are more or less comfortable with that idea, but I don't know. Like, I feel to a certain degree, like what's going on right now, like if this kind of activity that we're seeing increases, this kind of mysterious craft activity, which, again, there's disagreement as to whether or not they're just drones, whether they're spy drones, whether they're, I feel at least some of this activity is not anything to do with that, but is there a communication that's trying to go on there? About something, about a bigger picture. I mean, I don't know. I'm speculating right now, right? I don't have any evidence on anything. But we are definitely seeing this Uranus air kind of thing coming in, where it's already messed up Taurus. It's already messed up our sense of what we think is fixed and what we think is stable. And now it's going to be going into the way we communicate, the way we interact, maybe even in the way that we think. Okay, we've talked about the body in a sense with Taurus. Now we're talking about the mind. So there could be this whole revolution in how we deal with the mind, right? And our outcome cards, here's our Grand Cross, our Provoker card again. So yeah, certain things that are happening right now are meant to provoke us. But we have it with the part of fortune. So, and this is funny because this is a message I've gotten repeatedly from Azrael, which is like, you're moving towards joy. That's the card of joy. You're moving towards joy. You're moving towards joy. You're moving towards joy. Like, he's like, stop getting all upset about this. Like, you're moving towards joy. You know, yes, it's uncomfortable right now. You're moving towards joy. And I keep getting that. So whatever we're moving towards, we're not moving towards, according, at least from what I'm getting here, we're not moving towards any kind of mass annihilation or anything. I mean, something is coming to an end. And we are always uncomfortable with endings, even if they are endings of things that we don't, that we have not particularly wedded to or don't like, there could be a situation where you go, God, I hate this. But then once it's gone, then somehow we find kind of a nostalgia in it, right? Like, oh, I miss this thing about that. So yeah, our kind of entrenchment in things, I think that's what Uranus and Taurus has been about. It's been kind of like removing that entrenchment that we have with, what we think is fixed or what we think is stable. Because part of it, if we go back to the what we're thinking about with meditation and so forth, when we start thinking about that, we feel like that there is the idea is that we're kind of in the center, right? If we talk about being in that still place in the center, and everything is kind of moving around us, and it's going to always be moving. Some of it's going to be good stuff, some of it's not going to be good stuff. Some of it's going to be chaotic. There's going to be a lot of noise, but the idea is that regardless of where you go, you're in your center, right? And I think to a certain degree, if we're talking about the collective, it's like, how do we collectively move to our center? How do you move to a place where, regardless of what's going on, we can just kind of flow into what goes next? Now, that's it sounds easy when you talk about it, but as I've said, it's not an easy thing to do. But I don't know. I feel like what the things that we get attached to, the things that we fixate on as what we need or what our life is about or what certain things are, it's like it's all being like ripped up and shaken up, and they're like, no, that's not the thing you want to focus on. That's not where things want to go. So that's what I think, like when I see Uranus with air, I feel like when we move into that Uranus and Gemini space, that we're going to be thinking very differently about things, whatever that's going to mean. But certainly the patterns that we've had well, certainly the ways of thinking that we've had are not sustainable in terms of being able to live on this planet. I mean, we have a lot of ideas and things that are more about, there's a lot of people who are more focused, say, on material gain than, say, on the environment, for example. And there may be too many people with too much money and too many people who are struggling no matter how hard they work, right? There's all kinds of things where there's like imbalances here that need to be addressed. And that's just a couple of examples. But I feel like this is what it's kind of moving us towards. It's like, okay, Uranus in Gemini to me is about shaking up thought, shaking up communication. And a lot of times I think we think that's going to be a negative thing, but I don't think it necessarily is. I have a few other things here, so I'm going to do our Osho Zen reading right now. But it's very interesting where I think we're headed here. And so, we're going to do, if people who join late, I'm going to be doing a few classes on this. And I will be posting them on my website soon. And Suda says, patriarchy needs to go. Well, that is a system, yes, because remember, one of the things we keep getting is about the balancing of the feminine with the masculine. And that is definitely a thing. And that's what the ISFM is for, really. I mean, not that my school is going to do that single-handedly, right? But that's one of the goals that it's working towards, is how do we think differently? How do we think outside a patriarchal context? It doesn't benefit anyone. No, it doesn't benefit men either. I mean, maybe economically and things, it's kind of benefited them. But in terms of their ability to really connect with the world and relate, no, it doesn't benefit anybody. And it doesn't benefit women or men. So, it's a system that is pretty dead. And so we have to see, where that's going to go. Okay, so let's see what our cards say for today. Interesting. And this is okay. There's a couple interesting things about this. Our first card is the Ten of Cups. It's the Harmony card, okay? So, we're talking about being in harmony. We're talking about being connected. That's the space that we're trying to move towards, because this is about being happy and having your wishes, but not just in terms of personal satisfaction, which is Nine of Cups energy. This is about satisfaction in the group, like the collective being satisfied, the collective being happy, and operating in a way that's harmonious with each other. So that's kind of the issue here. And the thing of which we are not aware is we have this Five of Swords. We have the comparison card again. And I was thinking a little bit about this card because I was seeing this as kind of like a five. There was a lot of fives that were coming up for certain things. And I said, that's what we're always doing. We're always judging ourselves. We're judging, okay, to make judgments like this is when we're functioning in a space where we're focused on difference or focused on separation. How I'm not like you, how you're better than me, or how you're not better than me, right? Like that's what comparison is, or how this thing is better than that thing, or whatever. Like these ideas about comparison are where we are focused on difference. And when you have a card like Harmony in the center, it's saying, no, you don't want to be focused on difference. You want to be focused on the whole system, not on the differentiation and trying to compare and trying to say what's better and what's worse. I mean, we are so, you need ethics in a society because you need laws, but by the same token, we are so fixated on that to the point that, you can't make a move and then you become ashamed of yourself and everything that you think and do, right? Because, oh, did I do that thing? Was that the right thing to do? Should I have done this thing instead? We all do this stuff to ourselves, right? And the external feeling of which we are aware is the ordinariness card, okay? Eight of Pentacles. Being ordinary, just doing the regular thing. And that kind of goes back to what I've often said about the kind of spirit. I think I used to call it the spirituality of the mundane. And that's just by doing your regular thing can be a practice in and of itself. You don't have to be, in order for spiritual transformation to occur, you don't have to necessarily be like, I don't know, on a mountaintop or in an ashram or, in a cathedral. Like it can, those places are all great, but, it can happen just you doing your regular day-to-day thing. It can also happen, just the idea is that you want to feel that way in your space all the time, not just like, okay, I have these moments and then everything else sucks, It's like you want to kind of be in this space. And the thing that kind of stops us from that is this comparison that we do, this way that we're so fixated on what's different and how we measure up, right? We're always measuring stuff. That's a thing too. This obsession with measurement. Anyway, that I could get into that tangent. Who was I talking about? Oh yeah, I had some students. One of them works in school system, and we were talking about the way that K through 12 schools operate in education. So I promise you I will not go into that tangent. but yeah, the way in which we measure everything, it can become excessive. Okay, so now we have the moment-to-moment card. Okay, and that's our advice. So this is the Two of Pentacles. Now, Two of Pentacles is Jupiter and Capricorn energy, interestingly. But it's expanding out of Capricorn, right? It's the way to expand beyond that. And Two of Pentacles traditionally is the card of juggling something, right? It's the guy who's usually juggling the two pentacles. And again, we have our Leminskit again. I was talking about it the other day with the Strength card. That's the way to do it. That infinity sign represents the way in which, I mean, life does kind of work on this kind of a loop. We do kind of come around to the same kind of things, but we flow. Sometimes we're here, sometimes we're there. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. I mean, but you flow with it. And so the moment-to-moment card is just saying, yeah, a lot of what's happening here is trying to teach us to be in the moment and not be, fixated on the past and paranoid about the future, right? It's about being here. Okay, what's going on now? What do you have now? What do you have going for you now? I think this is why we also talk about gratitude practice and things. And again, whenever I say that, because I feel like that's kind of used in a very cliche way these days, I think that it's not a bad idea to focus on that, or at least to focus on, I read a thing from Jung the other day where they said that he basically said, think about anything that you do, like when you were younger, or even maybe now, that when you do it, like time seems to disappear. Like you do it and it's like the hours melt away because you are so interested and so involved in what you're doing. He says that's probably where your energy should be focused. Okay? What is the thing, and when you're in it, that you really feel like you're in your element? That's probably where your focus, at least what you're, in terms of what you are doing or what you are going to offer to people. Now, the outcome card is the the Hermit. It's the 9. This is the aloneness card. Now, as you can see, this is a monk who is got the light radiating out from his own heart. This is somebody who's a light unto themselves. So that gets back to what I said about the 11th house and how we relate and independence versus how we deal with the group. Because certainly we're talking about the harmony card as being in with the group, but this is also about what is your individual light? Like, how are you a light unto yourself? And what's interesting is that numerologically, 2025 is going to be, it adds up to 9. It's the year of the Hermit, if you're looking at it in terms of tarot. So I think it's interesting that the Hermit's coming out as the outcome. And that's something we're thinking about too. If we're going into a Hermit year, we would have just been in a year of, actually it's the Strength year if you're going to take it, unless it could be Strength or Justice, to be honest. I mean, depending on which deck you're using. But if we just go by the Rider Waite, we just did the Strength card. We've been in the year of 2024 adds up to 8. So we've been in the 8 year. Now we're moving into the Hermit year. And so the Hermit year is where do we take a step back and where do we reflect on going inwards, not only in the sense that we're clearing out like wounds and we're dealing with places where we've been stuck or patterns that we've had, but also where are you a light to other people? Where is your light? And that's going to be different for different people. So I think this is also why frequently, like with Azrael, he'll say, stop being afraid and stop frowning. He loves to say frown not. What is it? Uchim, frown not. I'm like, okay. As I was saying to Jenny last night, I'm like, he has this kind of weird Victorian way of talking. But, I mean, it's only weird because, angels don't live in this realm. So, I mean, they're kind of here and they kind of don't, but he's just like, you should be happy. Or the word mos keeps coming up, M-O-Z, mos, which is happy in the angelic language. So he keeps saying, yeah, be happy. Be happy. It's tricky right now, but be happy. And I'm like, yeah, I have a massive headache. Thanks. I'm so happy about it. But thankfully, I'm hoping I don't get a massive headache today. It's slightly under control. But anyway, stepping into stillness is our card from the Gateway Oracle. Okay, and that's interesting that what I was just saying to you. What it says here, the meaning of the card is, the universe wants you to know, deep within you is an inner sanctuary. Having this inner peace, however, doesn't mean there isn't chaos or disharmony around you. It seems that no matter what is occurring in your life, you can observe from a place of stillness. Surrender to the sweet energy of quietude. Avoid the temptation to embrace the drama and urgency of life. Affirm that you have all the time that you need. Power is born in stillness, and your potential is dramatically expanding in the majesty of silence. And she says, mine's at a dull roar. Is what she said. Is what Joanne just said. But stepping into stillness. So that's really interesting. It's literally what I'm just talking about, and that's the card that I just pulled here. There was one other deck I wanted to pull from today that I don't use a lot. It's a beautiful deck called The Secret Language of Light. And I don't know why. Like, it was staring at me today, and I'm like, okay, I need to pull a card from here. So, so let's see what it says, because sometimes this has a lot to do with, in a more general sense, kind of spiritual frequencies and things like that. So let's just see what we're getting for today. Oh, it's interesting. The card I flipped over is called Light Beings. And so let me tell you what that says, because I don't have all these memorized. This image depicts a light being. Okay, so you can see this. Well, it sort of does. The humanized version of a light being. The term light being is used to describe a range of ethereal forms, including guides and angels. They observe life from a higher perspective so they can see the most auspicious path for you to create your dreams and desires. Sometimes your light beings may seem to take you down a path fraught with difficulty. Really. However, everything happens for a reason. Just as we know a baby will eventually walk, you will also find your footing and attain your dreams. Your light beings are not here to save you, for that would interfere with your ability to create unique paths and conclusions. They are keepers of the faith and hold and stream your past, present, and future dreams and desires to your heart. Only you can decide what to do with that information. You can't get it wrong, for your light beings will show you another way. The Not My Circus, Not My Monkeys card. Oh, which was what Joanna's saying. But yeah. In terms of stillness, right. Like not getting caught up in the drama. But this is pointing out that even when we think, I think the thing that to take away from this is not only that maybe, I guess recycling, they're going to pick it up now. I'm hearing the beep down the road. It's kind of like no matter what you're doing, it's like, okay, if we have guides, okay, remember the guides are not there to do it for you, whoever your guides are. They're not there to do it for you, but they are there to hold space for you and to try to give you some direction as to how you want to manifest the thing you're going to manifest. I think a lot of times, too, we can look to people who are guides and say, like, well, why aren't they doing it for me? And it's like, well, because ultimately what you do with it is up to you. It's not up to, it's, it's kind of, what you, I mean, you're a being with free will. So you can do what you want. But it's also pointing out that if we get it wrong, or we think we got it wrong, we'll be shown another way. Like there's never like, oh, that's it, you're in a box, you're stuck, game over. Like it doesn't work like that. So whatever's happening, even if there's moments where you feel stuck, do remember that there's another way. I think that's it. It's your karma to face and your karma to create. Right, and karma is a word, it's a good, to bring up the word karma, yeah, that has a lot to do, it's a word for action, right? And even non-action is a form of action. So, or not. Right, or create or not, exactly. Right, that's what you're saying. And it's, so what you do with your energy is up to you. And that energy, and karma, it's interesting because a lot of times it gets talked about like a system of debits and credits. And I know even Amma will talk about it like that. And maybe just to kind of make it more accessible. But I just tend to think of it in the more, every action has an equal and opposite reaction, right? But it doesn't have to be equal and opposite. But when we put our energy out, we, there's going to be a result. Whatever we do, there's a result from our action, intentional, unintentional. I don't know. After last night, I keep thinking, what's the point? Well, it's basically there's a whatever we do, however we respond to what we're faced with, creates another response. I mean, it kind of goes back to what you've actually said before, Joanne, which is kind of like if you want a light, then you have to kind of create it. And the timeline spans lifetimes previous, current, and next ones. Right, exactly. And then you have the idea of the quantum soul, too. Like, how much of you is existing at the same time in other dimensions, and how much do things really end? Like, if somebody, if there's something that ceases to happen here, it's still happening someplace else or in some other dimensional space. But really the way that works, I mean, there's a lot of mathematics around it, but I don't think our minds really truly conceive of how that works. And I don't know that we're really wired for that. We just kind of know what's here in this lifetime, and we think of things in a very linear kind of fashion. And even if we're aware that things kind of exist in a and Suda says it's a ripple, maybe there is no point, and that's okay. Yes, actually, Alex, yeah, the reality is that there is no point. We create purpose, and there may be work that we're doing, but ultimately, life is a great mystery, and it goes back to, like Campbell had said it, but also Suzuki had also said this, the Zen philosopher. He would just hold up, he would go to give a lecture, and he just hold up a flower. And, only one person kind of indicated that they understood what that meant, which is like, it's kind of like, what's the meaning of this? Not a meaning to it. I mean, we can point to what it does. We can point to how it reproduces and how it does things. But what's, so what did, so did Madonna. Oh, you mean, okay, in terms of, I don't know. I mean, it's just, life is a mystery. Oh, okay. Well, Madonna's a whole separate thing. But in terms of her and, her life and the kind of person that she is, but, and the things she's gotten into. But life is, but it is a mystery. I mean, really, we have all kinds of mythologies and things, but the mythologies are just, they're, how literal they are. They say probably, actually, interestingly, what's said in the Vedas are probably the closest to the way it seems like it actually happened, which is kind of interesting. And that's why a lot of quantum mechanics is based on the Vedas. So it's, because that does seem to be the way the universe functions. But like if you read the Rig Veda, there's a passage in it where it says, who created this world? They're like, nobody. I mean, there's no creation. Who's going to talk about creation? Even the gods can't tell you about creation. Like what? Who's to say? Everything came out of nothing, and what is nothing? Like, and where did it come from? Nobody can tell you that. And they said, if God knows, they're not telling. It's like that's kind of it. I'm obviously paraphrasing greatly what's said, and in that passage. But there's a lot that we don't know, and we kind of, I mean, when it comes to meaning, it's what kind of meaning do we create for our lives? How are we creative? How do we take the energy we have and what we have, and what do we do with it in the time that in the span of this identity that we have and this awareness that we have? What do we do with it? And again, this is why I think they try to tell you to stay away from messiah complexes and things. People thinking like, aha, I have this great thing. Look at me, I'm great. Well, no, it's one thing. I don't know. It's just, we can't, ultimately, anything that we do, if you're really getting down to the level of what's real, that's why it's referred to as no thing. It's not a thing. It's not something you can wrap your mind around. And if you're talking about the ultimate reality, there is no point, right? There is no purpose and there is no point. But while we are here, we are playing the game, however we're playing it. Because they said that doesn't mean, well, the game is futile, so don't play it, because you can't win it. Well, there's nothing really to win. There never was. It's just, this is what we're doing. Now, why? Who knows, right? If you're talking in like the macro context, who the heck knows, right? So anyway, I've gotten very, very deep for this particular morning coffee, and I'm gonna finish my coffee before it gets totally cold. And I've got to get some grading to do, and I've had all these messages flashing in while I've been talking to you guys this morning. But in any case, great to see you all today. Have a great Tuesday. And obviously we'll all be kind of doing the thing on Saturday. You're welcome. And yes, you're welcome. And and I'll have more about, I'm going to try to arrange those classes at some point this week. Everybody have a great day. And I will see everybody and I got another message popping in. Yes, I will see everybody tomorrow morning. Everything going as planned. So yes, have a great day, and I will see you guys soon. Take care.